I'm glad I've got my chores taken care of. I don't get around very good. I have to ride the four-wheeler.
Yeah.
But I get around good enough to take care of them.
Yeah. Well, I've seen pictures of you when you were younger. And so I've seen pictures of you when you were younger. I saw pictures of you, I think, with Daniels, with Hog Daniels. You and him were, yeah. So let's get started. Can you give me your name, please? What's your name?
Don't you know it?
Yeah, I do, but for the record here, your name.
Well, most people call me Shep.
And what's your
Tommy is my first name.
Yeah.
And Shep is just something I picked up while, working with jumpers and stuff like that.
And what's your last name? You want to give your last name?
Johnson.
Johnson. And what date were you born? What was your birthday?
In Idaho, December 5, 1931.
Okay, and do you know you're being video recorded?
No.
Well, you are. Do you know now? Okay.
I don't, that's all right.
All right. Shep, where were you born?
Huh?
Where were you born?
New Meadows, Idaho, just north of here.
And you were raised there? Were you raised in New Meadows?
Yeah.
And where did you go to school?
New Meadows.
And did you
New Meadows and Weezer.
And Weezer? Did you make it to, you make it out of high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get to college at all?
Barely.
Barely? Okay, when did you first start being interested in the outdoors?
First interest in what?
Being outdoors, doing things outside.
In my life.
Were you raised on a ranch?
Yeah.
So, when did you first start working around the Forest Service?
1956.
What were you doing for them?
Smokejumping.
You started directly smokejumping?
Yeah, started directly with.
And where did you do your new man training?
My what?
Where'd you train?
There at McCall.
At McCall.
Yeah.
And was your brother already a smoke jumper?
Yeah, he'd been jumping a couple of years.
And what was his name?
Miles.
Miles Johnson? So you went there because your brother was there, is that it?
Well, I was working on a cattle ranch and God, it was tough. And Miles come down from McCall and he says, Shep, he says, I can get you on with the jumpers if you want. I said, Miles, what the hell's wrong with you? I said, I'm not going to jump out of a damn airplane. He said, well, I'm just telling you, I can get you on if you're not very happy here, and I wasn't. So as the winter wore on, I got thinking about it, and I was with my uncle. I worked for my uncle. He was a cowman, and we was going up Weezer River to go and check. The cows were going out to pasture. So I told my uncle, I says, I'm going to start jumping with the Smokejumpers. Oh, he didn't believe me, he just kind of was in the truck going up somewhere. And so there was a guy that worked for him that I knew real well. Earl Limburg was his name. He's a World War II veteran. But he worked with cattle all his life. And I wanted to make sure we was clear back in the back country. I wanted to make sure I had a ride out of there. And on the way up, I says, Earl, I says, do you think I can get a ride with you out to Weezer? Yeah, he says, that's no problem. So I told my uncle, I says, the last cow that goes through that gate, I'm history. I'm getting out of here. And he didn't believe me. And Earl was there. That was my ride. So I got out of there and I went directly to McCall, because Miles had already told me that, my brother had already told me that he thought he could get me on. Well, I went up and it was my best move I ever made. But the thing was, I was really antsy about that, you know. I didn't know about jumping out of those airplanes. So I told my uncle, I says, on the way up to when we let the cows out to pasture, I says, just as soon as that last cow goes through the gate, I'm history. Oh, he didn't believe me. And so anyway, Earl Lindbergh, which was an old cowboy, that was my ride, I knew. And soon when the last cow went out, I said, Earl, will you take me down up to New Meadows? He says, yeah. And that's how.
Well, what was it like?
I knew I was going to be interviewed with the jumpers, and I got on right away.
So do you remember what your training was like at McCall? Do you remember what you had to do?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
how can you forget?
What was it like in McCall? I've never been to McCall, to the jump center.
McCall, you know, it's up in the mountains, up north of here. And anyway, when that last cow went out, boy, I jumped in Earl Lindbergh's car, and away we went, and I went directly to McCall and got on.
Did you have any trouble jumping out of airplanes?
Scared me to death.
Did it?
Yeah. And no, you know, that was kind of something new to me, you know, really. Outside, I knew my brother jumped. My brother started in 1954, 53, and I started in 1956.
Well, do you remember your first fire jump?
Yeah.
Where was that at?
It's Ruby Mountain. I jumped with an old timer, Paper Leg Peterson. And Paper Legs is dead now, not alive. His wife she passed away too. Anyway, when he died, I'd always kind of keep track of, you know, of Reg and make sure she was all right. So the day I went over there, the evening I went over, Reg was crying, and when she cried, she just woo, 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 you know, it's different. And anyway, I asked her, what's wrong, Rich? She says, Father just passed away. And in fact, the ambulance hadn't gotten there yet to get him. And I didn't know that he passed away in his car. And you had no Pete. That would be he's one of the most interesting people I've ever known. And he never did you know, I followed what he did. You know, if I did wrong, well, he'd tell me. So that's how I got started with the jumpers with Pete, Paper Legs. Pete was really one of a kind. Could never beat him.
Did you jump more than 1 year? How many years did you jump?
I jumped 7.
7 out of McCall?
Yeah.
And
well, I'd go to New Mexico, Silver City. You know, that's where I knew TJ and Cahill and a bunch of them.
Yeah. So what would you do in the winter months?
Fed cows.
So you came back to your uncle's ranch?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Till I got pissed off and left, you know. If things got tough, well, I'd leave. And, but he was one of the dampest people I've ever known. He was a successful cowman, and he ran 400 or 500 head of cows. And he wanted to be the best, but you know, there's a lot of good cowmen up around that country. New Meadow, Warren Osborne, and, oh, I don't know, a bunch of them. But Darrell Camel, part of the Camel outfit, Circle C. And the Circle C Ranch is what used to be one of the biggest outfits in the state of Idaho. They're not anymore, you know, they've sold out, you know, things like that happen.
Well, when you kept going back in the summer to jump,
Yeah.
do some of those experiences come to mind that you had when you were jumping, you know, like really unusual jumps that you had? Do you remember any of those?
Oh yeah, I think about it quite a bit, you know, because that was part of my life. And my friends were Forest Service or Smokejumpers, like Paper Leg. And then I went down to Silver City in the summer and I met people like Jack Cahill and people like that. Bill Dimon.
So what was Silver City different from up here?